Should Kyle Larson stop racing dirt races and focus all of his attention on his Cup Series career? Easy answer to that is no, but unfortunately it's a bit more complicated than that. We have a lot to discuss on today's episode of Out of the Groove. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric and welcome to Out of the Groove. Happy holidays! Hope y'all had a very Merry Christmas. I know it's been like a week since I last uploaded a video. I do not know the last time I went a whole week without posting something, but here we are. I apologize for the slightly longer than usual hiatus. I didn't anticipate taking a full week off for Christmas, but just with everything going on, I'm getting ready to move again. This is the last time actually you'll be seeing this studio, I believe. So with all that, with other work and all sorts of other stuff, obviously the holidays themselves, I've just been so busy. Haven't had time to sit down and make a video like this, but I'm finally had a little bit of free time today. And when I say a little bit of free time, it's actually 12:30 a.m. So this is the time I have to squeeze in videos these days, guys. Not a lot. But there's a lot of interesting stories, a lot of polarizing opinions flown around Twitter, specifically NASCAR Twitter, that godforsaken place, earlier this past week. And it all surrounded Kyle Larson, his dirt racing endeavors, how it may or may not affect his Cup Series future. And I thought there was a lot of very interesting, very polarizing opinions out there, and I wanted to let my opinion kind of be shared. And I wanted to put it in a video like this because I wanted to be able to go more in depth on my thoughts. You know, Twitter, you only get what, like 240 characters, something like that. Like, not enough to really share any deep thoughts, in my opinion. So here you go. In case you guys missed it, in case you don't go on Twitter, which more power to you if you don't, honestly. But in case you missed it, Kyle Larson last week was in New Zealand, actually, racing on dirt. You know, Kyle Larson, very known for his extracurricular activities. He comes from dirt racing. That's his background. That's something he still does very much to this day, even during the NASCAR season. Many weeks you will find him at some dirt track somewhere around America, somewhere around the world, participating and winning at a very high level. But with it being the off-season, several high-profile drivers, including Kyle Larson and also Christopher Bell, made the trip over to New Zealand to race dirt races over there. And Twitter got fired up because in one of those races Larson ran, he was involved in a nasty crash. He went flipping, tumbling, a very violent crash in one of these races. He was okay, had to actually be checked out though at the hospital, but he was okay, no significant injuries at all. But this clip of this crash of Kyle Larson flipping wildly out of control, it made the rounds and it evoked a lot of emotions, a lot of different opinions from not just NASCAR fans, but race fans and people alike. I specifically got quite a few people riled up when I tweeted this out initially. I said, Hendrick deal looking less and less likely. That got a lot of people fired up. I think there was a misunderstanding. I'm pretty sure there's a misunderstanding because a lot of the comments seem to think that I was like taking a shot at Larson because, you know, he wrecked in this race, that meant he was a bad driver or something, and that's why Hendrick wouldn't hire him. That's not at all what I meant, and I clarified later on, and I think more people understood than what I meant after that. My point of bringing up Hendrick and everything is obviously Kyle Larson, as well as a lot of NASCAR drivers, are going to be free agents at the end of the 2020 season, and the 48 car that Jimmy Johnson's going to be leaving at the end of this year is going to be wide open, and it's long been speculated. A lot of fans have been thirsting at the idea of Kyle Larson going over to Hendrick and racing the 48 car. Kyle Larson, he's a great driver, obviously amazing in dirt, pretty good stock car driver from what we can tell as well, and the idea of teaming up Larson, one of the great young talents in the sport, with Hendrick, one of the historically great race teams, it sounds like a match made in heaven. So a lot of fans have kind of been loving the idea of Larson to Hendrick. And even I've heard insiders say that Larson to Hendrick could be a very real possibility in 2021. But the origin of my tweet comes from the fact that Rick Hendrick has historically not been too fond of his drivers racing extracurricular races, you know, going down racing dirt races around the country and other countries. Rick Hendrick has historically been a little less excited about that. Kasey Kahne used to race a lot of sprint car races before he got to Hendrick, and then when he got to Hendrick, he had a bad crash in a sprint car race, and that led to Rick Hendrick actually banning Kahne from racing sprint car races for 2 years. Eventually, he then let Kahne run a few select events, but ultimately, you know, after Kasey Kahne retired at the end of 2017, he spent a lot of time with his dirt racing teams. Rick Hendrick has historically not been a fan of his expensive drivers running other series of races and risking their health in other race cars. And the point of my tweet was that wrecks like that one Larson was involved in are exactly why Rick Hendrick does this. Because flips like the crash we saw Larson in here in New Zealand are not at all uncommon in sprint cars. Those happen quite a bit, and drivers unfortunately do still get injured somewhat regularly in sprint car races. So the point of my tweet, the point of my argument here is that the number one thing that might stop Kyle Larson from going to a team like Hendrick Motorsports in the future is his need to race dirt series races in his extra free time. Kyle Larson has made it very clear in recent months that whatever future team he drives for in NASCAR has to support his dirt racing efforts. They have to understand how important dirt racing is to him. And Kyle Larson has rubbed some fans, perhaps some NASCAR fans at least, the wrong way in the past with some of his comments. Infamously he said that he'd rather win the Chili Bowl than the Daytona 500. And of course recently when reporters ask about his 2021 NASCAR plans, he immediately turns the question towards dirt racing and says that his dirt racing efforts are going to be a major factor of what team he races for. A lot of NASCAR fans, and I think fairly, have questioned whether or not Kyle Larson's heart is really in NASCAR at all, or if he's really more focused on dirt racing and kind of just treats NASCAR almost as like a side gig. A lot of fans, I think, really believe that Kyle Larson only runs the NASCAR Cup Series to pay for his dirt racing efforts. And I'll be honest, I think that's a fair thing to believe. I think it's a little bit true, to be honest. Now, is that a bad thing, though? I think this is where people might be a little bit more divided. Speaking of tweets that got a lot of people riled up, here was one that a lot of people were responding to. This tweet here, quit using NASCAR as a money grab. There are some portion of fans, I think, that actually believe this, and that Kyle Larson's, constant insistence on racing dirt series and kind of prioritizing his dirt career over his NASCAR career definitely does rub some NASCAR fans the wrong way, and I can understand it for sure. In my opinion, though, I don't see that as an issue at all. I mean, ultimately, every NASCAR Cup Series driver is in the NASCAR Cup Series to make money. I mean, and some drivers, spend their earnings on a house, on their kids' college tuition. Why can't Kyle Larson spend his money on dirt racing? I mean, at least Kyle Larson is taking the money he gets from NASCAR and reinvesting that into racing. At least I feel like that's a good thing. I don't have a problem with Kyle Larson or any of these other drivers racing in other series, dirt, asphalt, late models, sprint cars, whatever they want. I have no problem with other drivers, going out and racing in other series around the country, around the world. I think that's great for racing in general, and I think it's great for those drivers specifically, helps build their brand, helps build their identity. So that's why my question at the top of the show, should Kyle Larson drop dirt racing entirely and focus on the Cup Series stuff? No, the easy answer is no, because what's wrong with him racing in other series? He learns from those other series. He can take skills he learns from dirt and translate them into his NASCAR career. That's perfectly fine. So the easy answer is no. But here's why it gets a little bit more complicated. Now we're going to talk about Kyle Larson's future. This is the Kyle Larson episode, but don't worry, we'll talk about some other drivers here in a moment. If Kyle Larson is insistent on running dirt, if he continues to prioritize his dirt racing career as much as he is these days, it could potentially limit his NASCAR Cup Series options, his NASCAR Cup future. And this is kind of what I was talking about earlier. In 2021, there are going to be a lot of free agent drivers out there. There's really only, I would say, 7 or 8 Cup Series drivers that I think have their 2021 plans locked down right now. I think there's going to be 20 or 30 drivers out there that are scrambling to put something together over the next few months. And Kyle Larson is one of those guys, and one of the best available rides in 2021 is going to be that iconic Hendrick Motorsports number 48. Kyle Larson is going to be one of the top free agents, so of course you got to believe his eyes are going to be set on that 48 car as a very real possibility. But remember, Rick Hendrick historically has not been too keen on his drivers racing outside of NASCAR. And can you blame Rick Hendrick, really? Can you blame any of these team owners? These guys are investing millions of dollars into these drivers. I think it's fair that they at least get a say in what series these drivers perform in. Because if you're risking millions of dollars in this one driver and he goes out and gets hurt on a dirt track in Ohio somewhere, that's gonna suck, man. You're out of luck. So I think it's very fair that these owners are concerned about their drivers going off and running dirt races somewhere. I think that's very fair that they are concerned about where their money's going, really. And that's why I say this could limit Kyle Larson. Because, okay, obviously Rick Hendrick could change his mind and let Kyle Larson run as much dirt as he wants. History says he won't do that, but maybe he completely has a change of heart, and maybe that happens. But I don't think that will. I think Rick Hendrick, he's going to throw a lot of money at Kyle Larson, but I think he is going to put some limitations on what sort of extracurricular activities Kyle Larson can run. And I think that's going to maybe cause Larson to not go to Hendrick Motorsports, and he might have to settle for an inferior Cup Series option for the sake of his dirt racing opportunities. I think the three most likely homes for Larson in 2021 are either going to be Hendrick. Something's going to happen because Rick Hendrick is going to throw a lot of money at Kyle Larson. He might think it's worth it to take more money and not race as much dirt for a few years. It might be perfectly worthwhile to Kyle Larson. I think Chip Ganassi is going to be one of the top options as well. They've been giving him solid race cars for several years now, and obviously Chip Ganassi is one of the most lenient owners out there. He's really supported a lot of Kyle Larson's dirt racing endeavors. He has not put many limitations on him, so there's that. Plus, Chip Ganassi has some links to IndyCar if Kyle Larson ever wanted to try out the Indy 500. That's another plus over there. But one other team that I think would be perfect for Kyle Larson potentially is Stewart Haas Racing, because the Stewart Haas Racing Fords would probably be the best cars Kyle Larson's ever run in his Cup career, so it'd be exciting to see him in top equipment like that. But also, Stewart Haas Racing is co-owned by Tony Stewart, who has a strong dirt racing background. He's had nothing but good things to say about Kyle Larson throughout Larson's career, so I think Tony Stewart's the kind of guy who might be a little bit more lenient as well and support some of Larson's dirt racing endeavors too. So this might be the best of both worlds for Larson. He can run as many dirt races as he wants, and he gets to race the best Cup cars he's raced in his career to this point. That would be a match made in heaven, in my opinion, but I don't know if that's actually going to happen. Stewart Haas Racing is probably going to have at least one opening, though. I think Clint Boyer's gone after 2020, and Harvick's going to retire at some point. Almirola's kind of on a year-to-year basis. So I think Stewart Haas is a very real possibility. That's what I would like to see. I'd love to see Larson in like the 14 car or something. That would be pretty cool. Now, I said I was going to mention some other drivers. So Christopher Bell also went to New Zealand with Kyle Larson, and let's just say this story has some layers to it. So Kyle Larson flipped and had that violent crash. The same day, actually, Christopher Bell also flipped. That's what I'm saying. These flips in sprint cars are not uncommon. Christopher Bell also flipped and wrecked in a race. Was not quite as bad, I don't think, as Larson's wreck, at least not from what I can see. But Christopher Bell, who's about to begin his rookie season with JGR affiliate, Toyota affiliate, Levine Family Racing, ended up packing his bags and leaving New Zealand early after that wreck, and a lot of people were raising questions as to why. Velocity News, a New Zealand publication, reported that Christopher Bell was asked to leave New Zealand and return to the US by his NASCAR management team. Now, shortly thereafter, RacingBoys.com, an American publication, published kind of a counter-argument to this story that said that Christopher Bell apparently left on his own. Bob Levine was quoted saying that he didn't ask Christopher Bell to leave New Zealand, and also a Toyota executive was also quoted saying that Toyota did not ask Christopher Bell to leave New Zealand. They claim, and Christopher Bell claims, that he chose to leave on his own because he wanted to come home and prepare for the Chili Bowl and prepare for the 2020 NASCAR season. Christopher Bell said he made the decision on his own. I don't know who to believe here. Did Christopher Bell really decide to leave on his own, or was he pressured to leave or forced to leave by someone affiliated with NASCAR or his NASCAR team? I don't really know. That initial article had quotes from Christopher Bell's dirt racing team owner, car owner. The guy who owned the car Christopher Bell was racing in New Zealand says that Christopher Bell was asked to leave by his NASCAR management team. I'm going to believe that guy. I think Christopher Bell, I think they're full of it. I think it's BS, honestly. I think Christopher Bell was asked to leave by somebody affiliated with his NASCAR management team, whatever that means. Toyota, maybe. Levine, maybe. Joe Gibbs Racing, probably. And this is what I'm saying. When it comes to Kyle Larson, when it comes to Christopher Bell, when it comes to a lot of these guys, the big team owners, the big NASCAR heavyweights that are spending the most money on their drivers don't want their drivers racing in other series. They want their drivers fully focused on the NASCAR Cup Series. And so that's why when the question is asked, should Kyle Larson stop racing dirt and focus all of his attention on the Cup Series? The answer is maybe. That's the real answer. The answer is maybe. I don't think he should have to, but if Kyle Larson wants to get the best opportunities with the best teams and have a chance at winning the big NASCAR Cup Series championship prize, unfortunately, he just might have to. That might be the nature of it because of the way these team owners see it. Rick Hendrick fields some of the best cars every week, and he doesn't want his drivers racing dirt. Joe Gibbs Racing Toyota fields the best cars every week, and now it sounds like they don't like their drivers running dirt too much. If Kyle Larson really wants to win a NASCAR championship or run for the biggest and best NASCAR teams, which I think he's earned the right to because he is one of the top young drivers in the Cup Series right now, he's earned the chance to run for one of the best teams in NASCAR. But if he wants those opportunities, unfortunately, he might have to sacrifice some of his dirt racing. And that's a question. That's something Kyle Larson's going to have to decide. That's something we'll find out more going forward throughout this 2020 silly season and going into 2021 when we find out where Kyle Larson signs and the details of that contract. Anyway, I feel like this was a very scatterbrained episode, guys. It's been a week and a half, almost a week and a half since I did this. And I told you, it's 1 a.m. now. Yeah, it's late. But I just wanted to get my thoughts out there. What do you guys think? Do you like Kyle Larson and other drivers running dirt races? Do you not like it? Do you think they should be focused on the Cup Series? Do you think Kyle Larson's going to have to focus on the Cup Series at some point if he wants to make it big? Let me know what your opinions are. I think this is a very complicated topic here because In a perfect world, yeah, let Larson run dirt. Let Larson run wherever he wants. Let him run the Cup. It's not going to affect his Cup Series performance. But unfortunately, a lot of these team owners, I just don't think see it that way. I think a lot of the big team owners want their guys to be all in on NASCAR and not as focused on other series. So if Kyle Larson's content with just running for Chip Ganassi his whole career and being in good but not great equipment, then sure, keep signing contracts with Chip Ganassi, keep racing dirt, keep running, 8th on an average weekend in the Cup Series, and it'll be a great career. It'll be a very good career. I like talking about Kyle Larson because he is one of the most interesting and one of the most talented young drivers NASCAR has today. And I think if all goes well, he could be a very important figure in this sport going forward. Anyway, y'all, that is my show. That's all I wanted to talk about in this episode. I'll have plenty of more stuff to come in the new year, but that's going to do it for 2019. That's a wrap. That's a wrap on this crazy, crazy year. I'll do kind of a year in review video here in the next couple days, but for now, I gotta go get some sleep. That's all I've got. Thanks for watching, y'all. Remember to subscribe, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram, share your opinions, comment down below, and of course, a big thank you to my Patreon supporters. Mike Waffles, Michael Harrison, at Jew is the Stars, Cameron James, John Kobach, Jason R. Long, Isaac Dennison, Mika Suzuki, iFantasyRace.com, TheRacingInsiders.com, Pepe Lucius, Jeremy Conklin, Emilio Garcia, Joey DiMacchino, Sky Racing Form, Bryce Schumacher, Scott McNew, Colton Austin, Bradley Pelletier, Brian Jenkins, and the rest of these incredible Patreon supporters. I couldn't do this show without the support I get from all of you. Thank you for your support throughout 2019. 2020 is going to be a crazy, awesome year. If 2019 was just the warm-up, 2020 is going to be insane. I'll have a lot more updates, a lot more news coming out in the next few days, but for now, thanks a ton for the support, y'all. New videos very soon. It's only a month and a half until Daytona, so we're gonna start previewing the 2020 season here before too long. NASCAR offseason, man. You blink and you'll miss it. That's how it is. That's how short it is. Anyway, y'all, thanks for watching. I'll see you again very, very soon. Have a great, happy New Year, and have a great end of 2019. It's been a fun one. Hope 2020 is even better. Have a good one, everyone.